Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Education Quest live stream. I'm your host, Sydney Burdick, and today I am so thrilled to welcome you to this, or to welcome our guest, Brennan Reitzman, a campus tour guide at Wayne State College.
Hello.
Today, we're both here to help you on your campus visits. Super exciting, a super crucial part of college. This is for students and both for parents. So I think we should just jump right into it. What do you think is the best part of a campus visit? Like the most helpful part of the campus visit?
Personally, I think just going out and looking at the campus, I think is the most helpful because whenever you go out and take a look at a campus, I mean, you also have to think that's going to be your next home for a little while. So you have to go out and just check it out and just go see what looks, if it looks like home, if you feel like that's home for you.
Yeah, that's huge. It kind of is it's your home away from home for 4 years or 2 years or however long you go. When's the best time of year to visit a college campus?
So I'm a little biased because I'm not a big fan of the cold. So if you're a really big fan of the cold, I'd say go whenever works for you. But I mean, at the same point, go definitely when there's classes being held. That way you can see what campus looks like when classes are going on. That way you get a real look at what campus looks like when you will be there. And you get to see kind of the hustle and bustle of changes in between classes and just what every student kind of looks like on campus.
Yeah, that I also hate the cold, so they got me on that one for sure. When should they visit colleges? In their junior year, senior year, earlier, later?
I typically say start about your junior year. You don't have to start that fall of junior year. That's junior year is a big year. There's a lot of stuff going on. So about winter, maybe spring or your junior year, just go check out one. Just kind of see, get a little start. It doesn't have to be a specific one. Maybe it's your favorite. Maybe it's just one that's closest to you. Just take a peek at one before that way you kind of just get a rough idea of what a college visit looks like.
How many college visits do you think a student should go on?
Um, Really, it's kind of up to the student and how many they think they need to go on. If they go on one and they feel like that's perfect, I still suggest to go check out another one just so they can see a couple of differences at least. But I'd say nice whole number is probably about three or four. That's typically about what we see.
Yeah, that seems pretty manageable. Do you think that includes they should all see one type of college? Do you think there should be sort of a variety in the mix?
It kind of depends on what they want to go study. That has a huge factor. And if they do any research if they know what they want to study. But a little variety might help as well. Definitely take a look at a bigger school, take a look at a smaller school. That way they can kind of get a feel of what each one looks and feels like. And that kind of helps with their decision.
Yeah, for sure. I think varieties definitely help because all schools look pretty different. So how should students schedule their visits? Do they reach out to their high school counselors? Should they do it through the college website? What does that look like for most students?
So here at Wayne State, we have a few different options that students can go through. By far, the largest one that we have and most schools have is just scheduling through their website. It'll be one of their first things that you see on that website is a giant admissions tab. And you go click on that and it has a nice button that says schedule a visit. So that's primarily how most of them do it. But if the college has any admissions representatives that are there looking at the school, go talk to the admissions representatives while they're there, and they'll be more than happy to help you schedule a visit.
Yeah, those admission reps can be super helpful. Kind of on that same note, how can a student prepare? You mentioned talking to the admission reps. What else can they do to get ready for that campus visit?
Really just scroll around their website, see what the website has to offer, because that is the biggest informational piece that a college has to offer, is just all of their information is going to be on that website. So check out what kind of majors that they have, check out maybe different clubs and organizations that they might have if they're interested in a specific club or organization. it'll have all of their information that they look for. So that's the biggest piece of advice, as I can stress, is just go. You don't have to look for anything specific. Just kind of scroll through, see what it looks like, and you might surprise yourself and find something you didn't even know.
Yeah, that can be definitely a big help too. Lots of lots of things that are on their website that, yeah, when I was toward UNL, I had no idea that they offered so many different programs. I didn't even know that they had multiple campuses until I looked at their website. So that can definitely be helpful. When they're doing some of that research, should they be thinking about some questions to ask? And if so, what kinds of questions?
The biggest questions I think a student should ask is really when they're out on tour and they have a student tour guide like me, ask them one, what their favorite part of campus is, first of all. That way they can tell you, because that's normally a nice little slow ball for the campus tour guide, is what they like about campus. But also ask them what they don't like. That way you can kind of get a little estimate on maybe some things that might need to change, because no college campus is going to be absolutely perfect for someone. So kind of hearing some of the negatives about campus, it'll be a little tougher on a tour guide, I promise, but it kind of just gives you a little rough idea of maybe some of the cons of going to a specific school.
I bet tuition would probably be on that list of what the con would be. I bet you that's probably the top one. What about some of the questions that a family member can prepare? I know lots of people go on campus tours with parents, grandparents, family members, people who aren't going to school themselves.
The biggest ones that I get personally, number one is by far safety. Parents always ask how safe their kids are going to be. So safety is a huge thing, no matter where a student ends up, is always looking to see what kind of safety and security they have on campus. The other big question that I personally get is how often I go home, because a lot of parents are going to be wondering how many times their kids are going to be coming home. So that's always a little tidbit of piece that some parents like to know, is just how many times is my child going to come home from school?
Yeah, I bet they're hoping for more, but maybe in the semester they're hoping for less. Depends
Yeah,
if you have laundry on campus, I bet.
that's true. That's very true.
What do you recommend to help families get the most out of their campus visit?
Um, always, I always said the website. By far, that website's huge. But I always say, write out a list of questions before you show up to campus. Just because every time you show up for a campus tour, those questions just immediately fall out of your mind. You're just taking in so much information. It's really hard to remember the questions that you're going to ask. So I've seen many parents do it where they just have a list of questions on a piece of paper typed out on their phone. And I think that is the smartest idea ever, because I remember touring colleges and I always forgot the questions that I was going to ask. So having a nice little question bank, it's super duper helpful. And that way, you left needing all the information that you got that day.
Yeah, that's definitely super helpful. What should just students look for when touring a campus?
Um, Take a look at, there's lots of different things that students should take a look at. First of all, um, ask your tour guide to take you to a classroom. That way they can see what a classroom looks like, because you're going to be at school. You're going to be in these classrooms. So seeing what an actual classroom would look like kind of helps you also get a little vamp of maybe you can see yourself in a classroom like this, or maybe you can't see yourself in a classroom like this. So seeing something like that is definitely a nice eye-opening piece. Also seeing more than one residence hall, just because lots of residence halls on different campuses are very different. So seeing a variety also helps narrow down decisions as well. And then seeing just a lot of the basics on campus, seeing, the library, the cafeterias in a student union, or the rec centers, just taking a look at a lot of those basic amenities on campuses. So that way they can, again, see if they can find themselves at home on that campus or not.
Yeah, that's definitely huge. What are some other factors students can think about when finding the right fit?
So when I found my fit here at Wayne State, one of the biggest things that came to my mind was size. I went on lots of different college visits, and I came from a smaller school out in South Central Nebraska. So I toured UNL. That was the first place I toured. It's a great school, but the size really kind of scared me. I just was not a big fan of the size. So I went and took a look at some of the smaller schools as well. And I found myself here at Wayne State, which is really a nice kind of happy medium. It's a little bit larger, but it still has a lot of the smaller size. So take a look at size. Also, take a look at distance from home. Maybe you want to be closer to home. Maybe family's a huge, huge thing to you. Or maybe you want to move away from home, be a little more independent, kind of on your own. So also take that into account, because that drive home, if you want to be closer to home and you end up going to a school farther away, that drive home can get a little monotonous if you're going from a little bit of a longer distance.
Yeah, that I feel that. I'm from Chicago, so it was
Oh,
a full
yes.
9-hour drive home.
I don't have
Which
to drive
sounds
that
great at
far.
the time, but for winter break, it was not a good time.
Oh,
A little too long. Yeah, that's definitely huge. Making sure your campus is your home is a big deal. Circling back to some more questions that parents might want to ask, students might want to ask. How do they go about asking financial aid questions during a campus tour? Do they ask you, or do they find an admissions rep to do that?
so we have here at Wayne State, before each campus tour, a prospective student will sit in on an admissions presentation, and there will be either admissions representatives giving that presentation or one of our admissions full-time staff members doing it as well. So they're the first ones to meet those guests, and if they have questions about financial aid, those are the professionals that they should ask. Or also at the end of that tour, ask the student where that financial aid office is, and go and just stop by the financial aid office, because they're also the real professionals, and they know what the financial aid side looks like. And if you have any questions, they know all the answers to them.
Yeah, that's definitely huge. I know that's a super big factor about go. You can love the college as much as you want, but the financial aid is kind of what it comes down to for most people. So
Yeah.
that's going to be huge. It looks like we have an audience question. They want to know, what's the best or most unique question that you've had on a visit?
Um, let's see. The most unique question I had was, it was someone touring from New York City. So they were from the city, and they came out here to Wayne, Nebraska, which is a very, very, very different style of culture out here. So when they came out here, it was a very, very big culture shock. And they kept asking me where some of the larger stores were. Biggest one they always get is, where's the Target at in town, or something like that. It's always like, where's this at, or where's something else at? And it's like, well, Wayne is a little bit of a smaller community, so you do have to make those commutes for some of those different name stores that you're looking for. So some of those questions, just when they come from a bigger city, those are some of the more unique ones, or just kind of seeing the culture shock on them, that if they come from a really large city, that this is not a very large city. So it's just kind of a little difference.
Yeah, that's Target. I have to have my Target. So that'd be a big question for me. That'd be my first question, is how far, or if you're going on a campus tour, Target or Trader Joe's or Walmart or
Yes.
whatever your favorite store is. Because I've made so many late night trips to Target, especially moving and stuff, trying to forget. Oh my gosh, I didn't pack a toothbrush and shampoo and like all those little last minute things. So that can actually be a really good question to ask too. Is
Yeah.
like, what does
Yes.
that look like?
Mhm.
Well, it looks like is all of our audience questions. So we will go ahead and wrap up this live stream. Before we do that, I have a couple reminders. If you're not already following Education Quest on all the platforms, everything, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Twitter, X, whatever, make sure you do that, because there's some really big changes coming to the FAFSA this year. And you definitely will not want to miss them. You'll want to be the first one to hear about them, and you'll hear about that from us. So make sure you hit that follow button. We're also giving away a couple $500 scholarships once we hit some milestones on those platforms as well. So that's pretty cool. So make sure you hit the follow button, follow us and all that. And when it comes to all things college related, EducationQuest.org is your go-to source, totally free, hands-on advice, tools, guides, all the things. We've got you covered every step of the way. So thank you again so much for joining us. And we will be back. And our next live stream series is all about the FAFSA. So woohoo, super fun. You definitely don't want to miss that.